Good morning, good morning, good morning. How
Thank
are
you.
you,
I'm doing
Ebahie?
wonderful. I feel blessed and highly favored this morning, actually, which is something I don't say every day. I'm always excited to wake up, but today I definitely feel like blessed and highly favored.
Well, I know you blessed me and favored me with your presence, so I'm going to enjoy this. Uh, I am so glad. I was so excited about being able to do this with you today because I've kind of noticed you since you've been in the business. And you are a rising star, superstar. Let me put that super in front of it. Uh, you are an exceptional. You take your craft very seriously. You work on it. You improve on it. And I want to say this before I forget and we get into it, because I'm a preacher. I get started, I go on a ramp, I go somewhere else. I would say we are friends. I mean, we have not really spent a lot of time around each other, but I think what makes us friends are the mutual respect, the admiration that we have for each other. Okay.
That's
And friends don't have to see each other every day. You just have to know that you're there for each other, you
right.
know. And since I've known you, you've been a woman of character. And with that being said, there are uh, uh, your information is going to be at the bottom at the and the description. All of it's going to be there. So anybody that want to get in touch with you, want to talk to you, want to learn more from you, will be able to, because you are an exception. Now, what I want to say to our viewers out there is there's a lady to learn from. She's it. She's done what it. We're gonna explain that more to you. We're gonna tell you how to be successful in any business, not just this business, but any business, because we are both licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters. Our job is to be advocates for homeowners and business owners when they have insurance damage to their property. And she's very good at what she does, and I'm very good at what I do. Matter of fact, she's even on one of my clients. I didn't know that when I sent it in, but it worked out perfectly.
It did.
So let me read this scripture
Okay.
that I want to apply to you. And for all of you out there, this is not a preaching sermon. I am a preacher, but this is not a preaching sermon. It's just that this particular scripture applies to her. And we're going to use this to bring out some principles of how you could use this to become successful in your life. Okay. And it says, this is coming from Proverbs 31:13. See how it reversed 31:13.
Okay, cool.
She worketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like a merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night and giveth meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. She considered a field and buys it. And with the fruit of her hands, she planted a vineyard. In this case, fruit made her money, her earnings. So with her money, she buys it. She girdeth her loins with strength and strengthened her arm. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth out, not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands holdeth the distaff. She stretches out her hands to the poor. Yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself covering of tapestry, and her clothing is silk and purple. All that applies to you.
Good colors too at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes it so great. So we're gonna get into what this means, how it means, how she's gonna tell you how this applies to her life, and anything I can add to it, I will, because as again, I am the preacher.
Amen.
And we're gonna talk about that right after this. Okay, so now we're back. Now that you've heard the scriptures from Proverbs 31:13 through 22. I'm going to let Ebahie tell you how she applies these principles to her life to become successful. Listen, remember this. She is not just a star, she is a superstar. So she's not just somebody who's saying this and don't know how to make it work. So hear you her and learn how to be successful.
So a key when my story is that I loved school and learning. So college was, I'm one of the people, college worked for me. College isn't for everybody, but college education, it worked for me. I was a near straight A student, never had the all A's, but I was very above average. I had great successes in college, making dean's list, having involved in on-campus activities. So if you visit my campus, several groups from no matter what race you were, no matter what your studies were, you knew about Ebahie, not just from my name, but because I was so super heavily involved. And what I found was that even with doing everything that I did in college, I even got that success of having the job before I even finished college. And so I thought education was the super key for me. And then I found out working, it was like, well, this position, I was working at Toys R Us doing supervising and inventory control, was not quite what I wanted. I was thinking, boy, if they give me a promotion, maybe they give me an extra 10, 20,000. What if they even gave me a $50,000 salary increase, which would have doubled my salary at the time? And I really just wasn't interested. I didn't want to have the managerial role. I didn't want to be working from home. You know, this was way before COVID. So working from home was just meaning extra hours that you were spending working away from the office. So that just didn't interest me. So I had to go look for something that I wasn't so concerned about the money, because I realized money wasn't my motivator. What I realized is that I wanted to do something that I enjoy. So I remember back in college, I did a lot of event planning. So I moved to Chicago. I did that for a little bit, but as you know, Chicago is cold and nobody's trying to be at a
God bless you. I've only been there one time.
Right? It's crazy cold, right? I grew 3 inches of hair on my chest and I said, you know what? That's it. I'm out of here. I'm going back to Georgia. But I mentioned, so eventually I found my way working with Google Maps for a few years before a colleague introduced me to public claims adjusting. And eventually I found my way into public adjusting. So I tell that story because what I thought the gifts were that I needed. When I first walked into Toys R Us, I thought that was my wool. That's what I thought my contribution to society was going to be, but it wasn't a good fit. Then I moved to Chicago and I did the event planning. And then I thought that was my wool. I thought that was my seed that I was going to plant and share with the world. But it actually turned out that no, that wasn't quite the fit for me either, because of the cold, being away from family and not having the control over my life that I wanted. Then I finally found claims adjusting, working for the insurance companies, and still I felt like, man, that time freedom still wasn't there. I have to be told what to do, when to do it, and where to go. Then when I found public adjusting, I was like, oh boy, this is my wool. This is what I want to duplicate. These are my sheep. These are my seeds that I want to go off and plant. So these are the gifts that I've been given. And now that I feel that increase, I've been working and I've already been given the gifts and the tools, marketing and learning how to talk to people and learning how to appreciate people and really having a desire to help people. But it took some journeys to realize that what my wool was and what I wanted to reproduce, what I wanted to give back to society. So I think that's how I relate to that scripture in saying that this is my product. Like I think of myself as an ant, like the ants of a colony. This is the work that I'm going to go do. It's what I wake up, I do that, and then I go to sleep and I wake up and I do it again. It does not quite work to me. It's just living life now that is a part of it. And as I watch other women who are in societies where they have a lot of physical work still, maybe they still do a lot of herding of sheep or planting of their own vegetables. I just see them, that's their way of life. And I have my own way of life here too. It's just in a different, it's not in wool, but it's in helping people with home repairs.
And you know, you said a lot in what you said. So I want to go back to the very first scripture.
Okay.
The very first verse. It says, she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. See, you were willing to try different things.
Right.
Some people aren't.
Right.
This is, I got my state, this ain't true now, but back when I was coming up, if you got a state job or a federal job, you was cool. You didn't want nothing else. This is my life. I'm gonna stay here till I retire. I'm not going anywhere, and I got all the good benefits. So this is it. This is it. But you were willing to say, well, nah, this ain't quite it. Let me try something else. Nah, this ain't quite it. Let me try something else. Nah, this ain't quite it. Until you felt the thing that you was born to do.
Absolutely.
But if you're not willing to try, you're not gonna get there.
That's correct.
And you know, and also it says she is like a merchant ship. She bring her food from afar. And which I told you it fits you. You was in Georgia. I mean, Georgia's a big state for those who don't know it. You did not have to leave her, but you decided to go afar, all the way to Chicago, to find something else that might benefit you or help you. So you weren't afraid to take a chance. And see, and all these are principles that I'm talking about to help you become successful. Because if you're not willing, you're dead to start with.
Absolutely.
If you're not, if you don't want to go afar or try something different, you're gonna be dead to start with. How do you see that applying besides what I said to you?
Yeah, so you're right. I was in Georgia. I finished high school in Georgia. I went to college in Ohio, and then I worked in Ohio at Toys R Us, and that's when I then went to Chicago and before I made my way back to Georgia. But I remember in college being offered an opportunity to do an internship in Mississippi. But I was young, and it was my first summer back home after being 9 months away from home, 18 young. So being away from home at that time didn't appeal to me. But I always think though, back at that time, like if I had taken that option, would it have been prepared me for different opportunities that came later in life? I think it would have taught me a lot about working in an office, about really having that 9 to 5, getting to experience that. And so when you say that, yeah, some people aren't willing to try, I think at that time, I wasn't ready yet. But then when the opportunity came, I'm like, okay, now is the opportunity for me to go. So I think you have to be willing, because if I had this opportunity now, looking back, I would have taken that internship in Mississippi, although it would have been hard to do. Although I would have been that emotional connection that I have, in the thoughts of spending the summer with my mom, I would have been able to actually grow from that experience working at that internship and being able to grow from that experience of not being able to see my mom every day that I want to. So you have to come to a certain point to where you're going to be willing to do something that's uncomfortable for you before you are able to see that growth. And that you want to be able to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But you do need to search and find, and it's not the first thing. A lot of companies pivot. There's many companies out there that started with one idea and now they're in car manufacturing, or they're making light bulbs. And I think that for women listening to this, you have to be okay with, wow, this didn't work. My t-shirt idea or my catering company didn't quite work the way I wanted it to work, but you can pivot. All of that you learn trying to build that business will only make your next endeavor better.
And that is so key, to realize that just because I failed the first time don't make you a failure.
Right.
It's only when you quit you become a failure.
Absolutely.
And here's another one I want to read, that she perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. So Now you tried all these and you said, I don't see this as good merchandise, is really what you're saying. It's good for something else, but not for me. It's not good merch. I can't make, I could make this work, but it won't get me where I want to go.
Absolutely.
But then when you came into the public insurance industry, you said, this is a good merchandise.
Yes.
Now I can not only help me, I could help someone else. And because I know a lot of your story, I realized that some nights, like the last time we supposed to get together, you up all night.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you're willing to put the time in. And with that being said, I'm gonna step aside and let you put the rest of that.
Yeah, what I think of is me, I have to realize I'm first a marketer. I always enjoyed just looking at magazines just for the ads. And what I realized is that when I got into insurance, I had tried other businesses and other adventures. I did the event planning in Chicago, so I got an opportunity to test my marketing skills. And when insurance came into my life and I failed my exam the first time, I'm sitting back. I'm an A student, Aki. I'm smart. Who fails a test? Not me. Not that doesn't happen. So when I sat back like, wow, something's missing out there. And so I saw that gap in insurance, that there's not a lot of people training on how to help other people in this particular field. And I think about that, like I was having dinner with a friend last night. She's a brander, and I'm trying to explain to her that's how you may have started. But again, that pivot may need to happen to where you may be better fit working in with other companies. For example, somebody may be a great home cook. Doesn't mean it's necessary to start your own restaurant. Maybe you do catering events, or maybe you help somebody establish a new menu, someone else who's actually going to run the business. And I think one area where our society can improve is we have so many entrepreneurs working solo. We have to start pulling each other's best assets and quality and start teaming up together, because it takes a village to launch an idea. It takes a village to grow a business. And me personally, I always like the sidekick position, the vice president position. I never aspired to be the president, which makes this business so great because, you know, Steve has a whole lot of things to worry about that I never personally have to think about. But it doesn't mean that I don't feel like I'm controlling my own business. It doesn't mean that I don't feel like that my direct work attributes to my direct income. And that's what I was not getting when I was working for other people. But I know that I personally wouldn't want to go and try to start my own public adjusting firm, because it's already been built. 25.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Right? right. You reinvent the wheel and then compete. I can thrive and do succeedingly, abundantly, above all, just by working this process that we're already in. So I definitely see, you know, us, if you're going to go find your own wool, you may have to figure out who's already got the wool that you have. I didn't create Metro, right? I saw the wool and I said, you know what? This is good quality material. I can use this to then go knit a t-shirt. I can use this to go, you know, help other people. I can use this to keep warm at night. And I'm creating several uses out of it. And I'm just using that marketing skills to then push this product. But I don't feel like a super business owner. You know, I don't feel like a CEO, because I am helping push a whole business, a whole village to grow. And that push eventually helps me. You know, you were on my channel last week, so it's earlier this week. So it's like, for me, having you there, that builds up a reach that I can't get to. So if I'm trying this on my own, which I think sometimes women may do first and then go build the team, you have to kind of look at, where can I be an asset maybe to also other people? And that's where I find my sweet spot is other people thinking about the major stuff of the business, me just trying to find new people to help. I chase helping people. On Sundays, I'll go out and knock on doors because I know people are usually home after church. And
Right.
if they have a bad roof, and then they start to call you angels and things. I'm 5'11", so I'm already tall. And they're looking at the sun shining behind my head. I'm definitely sure that I look like an angel to them.
You know, and that's the one great thing. And one day we might do a tribute to Steve. We have to think about that. But Steve, when you come into this business, Steve, especially with our company, Steve tells everyone you are a CEO.
Right.
You do not work for me.
Right.
We are partners. You are a CEO of your own business. So however you want to run that business, as long as within the confines that don't get us all in trouble, you can run your business.
Right.
Which I think, and like any great sports team will tell you, if you take ownership of something, you can do it.
Absolutely.
But if you don't take ownership of it, you can't do it. And you came in and took ownership. And before we run out of time, I want to read this. Because this fits you, so all this fits you. But she stretches out her hand to the poor, and yea, she reaches forth her hand to the needy. Now, for some people out there who don't know this, poor and needy is two different things.
Okay, explain that.
Yeah, poor means you're destitute. You don't have the funds. Needy means you fell into a situation that you might need something at that particular point. All right, let's say for instance, you have a job, you're working, everything's going good, but then COVID hit. Okay, now COVID hit, you're not able to work like you used to work. You're not poor, but you find yourself in need. You need help from somebody else. So with you, you're meeting you're saying, okay, you're poor. I'm willing to help you. I'm willing to give to the poor. The Bible says we should take care of the poor. So you're willing to give to the poor. You will, and somebody who's in need. And for our business purpose, let me use this. Somebody who's in need that might call you and say, Ebahie, listen, I called my insurance company. You know what we all do with somebody, so they call the insurance company first. Oh, man. And they denied my claim. Can you help me? Now, they in need. They needy. Right. They not poor, but they needy. They in need. They can't do this on their own. They call you, and then you help them meet their needs. And when you help get them paid, they are so excited about what you did because they had no recourse. They could not get it on their own. And now that you help them, they're going to tell everybody about you.
Right.
If you remember, we did the video on your channel. I told you that you get paid in direct proportion to the size of the problem that you solve. Yes. So that is a big problem when you get denied and then somebody comes in and solve that problem for you. That's
right.
You.
Right. And that's so, and that scripture says she reaches out her hand, right?
Right.
And I like the references too that you made because one thing that I tell people, and I always hesitated saying this, is that I feel like Robin Hood, the character, the fiction.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Right. I steal from the rich. Well, I don't steal. I get it from the rich, which is the insurance company, and I give it to the poor. And I always hated saying that poor word because my homeowners aren't necessarily poor, but they are in need. Right. So I think I'm gonna switch it. I take from the rich and I give to those in need. And that will be the difference between us and Robin Hood. But I love extending out my hand from doing Meals on Wheels, volunteering with Meals on Wheels, working in Habitat for Humanity homes to educate people. And that's where I'm focused on now is the one, I would love to be able to employ 1 million people throughout my lifetime. There's another Black woman, her name is Janice Hayward. She owned Act One. She is actually the first Black self-made billionaire. But now she's number 2 to Oprah. Okay. And so she also owned a staffing company. And I'm like, with this business of ours, I'm able to have people learn from me and train them so that they can also earn money and they can actually create a family business. So if your sons or daughters aren't ready for college and you're in this business, you can actually help them get into this business, and all we're doing is helping other people. And that's how I feel like that I extend my hand out, is by giving the information that this job even exists. a key. I hated insurance before I got into this business. I mean, they take the money out your check. Then when you try to use it, you still have to pay a co-pay. And then if you go over, they send you a bill for another amount. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought this was covered. And then they say, oh, no, it's this, is that. Well, that wasn't made very clear when I was signing the paperwork or when you were taking that $100 out my check. And so I was really against insurance. So I didn't even know the claims adjuster position even existed. And so most people are really just using their insurance, either one, because they have to, because of the mortgage company, or two, because they're waiting for a fire or a tree to fall. But
Right.
so much more. I hate going into homes where I'm like, oh, ma'am, if if we had seen your water damage last year, we would have been able to help you. But now it's to a point where if it's too late, it's too late. And Mike Surge told me to, let people know that when they're hesitant. If it's too late, it's too late, and I may not be able to help you then. But let me help you now. And that's what I feel like I extend my hand. I literally give people money to help with the biggest financial investment that they are likely going to make in their lifetime. So I'm always happy to do that.
And let me say this too, to add to what you're saying. Even though that's why policy reviews are so important,
right?
That we do free policy reviews, because you can go to somebody's house and because this issue is no longer viable, we can't help them with that, because of we can do a homeowner's inspection, we might find another issue there that we could get them paid for to help offset the cost of that one. Right. which is another problem solver.
Right.
Let me get to this other one. I want to get to this before we. She is not afraid of the snow for her household. For all her household are clothed with scarlet, and scarlet, for all intents and purposes, is red.
Okay.
Red is the color of fire and heat. Okay. So the reference is, even though it's cold outside, she makes sure her household is warm.
Yeah, I try to do that the most with family. I've been privileged to be able to see some great families in my lifetime, even though I come from divorced families, divorced parents. My friends and have always been a big part of my life, and getting to see how their families operate, if they're together or if their parents got divorced at a different time. But what I see with some families, and one of the families I've known since I was 5, is that when things get fractured, they always find a way to come back together. Sometimes it takes time to be able to have that relationship mended, but they always come back together. And that's how I try to help my family when there's disagreements, and it happens whenever we have to get together, because they are divorced parents. And I really just try to concentrate on letting both parties tell their side and hearing both parties out, and being really trying to be a non-bias as to favoring one side versus favoring the other side, and listening. I think having a listening ear keeps it very keeps my relationships with both my parents and all of my siblings very warm, because I'm willing to not necessarily have to be right, and also because I've seen that people can come together and have a great time as family, even though there was a disruption in that familyship at one time, but it can be rebuilt.
You don't know this, but I'm going to tell you this. Most people that have been around me know this, because I'm not afraid to tell it. Do you know I had to go to Bible college to learn how to listen? I grew up in the streets. In the streets, we debated not to hear what the other person said or what their opinion was. We just wanted to pick out the points that we could dispute and win the argument. That's what I did all my life. So now remember, when I went to Bible college, I was 41 years old. So I have been at this a long time. And when they told me that if you're gonna be a minister or serving God, you got to learn how to listen. I'm sitting there saying, whoa, what a novel idea. I need to know what the other person is talking about. So you're talking about listening, and every time I hear somebody say that, everybody that knows it knows, I tell them, I say, I had to go to college to learn to listen, because before that I couldn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
Let me hit this last one, then we're gonna try to close this out. Now, she making herself coverings of tapestry for clothing is silk and purple. Now, for everybody who don't understand it, silk is it's expensive. you ain't finding that in the five and dime. Purple is the color of royalty.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that she has did all these other things that is talking about here, and now she's brought them to a fruition where she can have the silk, she can have the purple, she can have the royalty through her hard work, through her labor, through the things she did. How did that cultivate in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. What I think of a key is for a long time, for a really long time, I was very anti-kids, like having kids. I was so that I didn't need to come and get married to be able to have kids. Again, I come from divorced parents, so having being married and having a family wasn't my first priority in my life.
Right.
However, what I always enjoyed was the success. I've always enjoyed being at the top of the class. I've always enjoyed being at the top of the pack, which is why working in the structured corporate environment where you can't outrank your boss, ever, just wasn't going to work for me, because I like to be at the top of the pack. And being successful, though, TD Jake said you have to get yourself some successors in order to have real success. That's why Abraham needed his successor. Jacob had his successors. And I started to think about, oh, okay, well, I guess I have to have me some little Ebahies to really be able to show, because I also think about, well, if I could have this great success, but if it dies with me, how really great was that success? It has to have some longevity to it, and our lives are actually quite short in relative to the generations and generations that your legacy can actually live. And so I look at that like now, because I have thought about, all right, if I'm going to have this success and successors, building my home. So when you mentioned royalty, I thought about that building of the house, being the mom, and having a husband there to be the king, and then having your princesses and your princes to raise. And that's exactly where I think about, which is kind of great, because it ends, right? It's at the end of that passage that relates well to me. And so I'm ready now to really open up and bring in Scarlet and bring in royalty and bring in silk. That's what I wanted to say. Bring in silk and bring in those royal colors into my home. So that's where I am in life now, just ready to be open for that. And so really, if you know anybody who is a good fit, I prefer somebody who's over 6 feet tall and handsome. But other than that, I'm a real good catch.
She talking about me, but I'm already married. Listen, right. Before we close out, because what's the one thing you would love to leave with the young ladies out there who's trying to find success and haven't quite found it yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that what I hear from our counterparts, our male workers in this industry, is that women make great leaders. Yes. Women do great at being able to manage multiple people at one time. And so if you're looking for a new opportunity, this isn't just about the policy reading. This is also about you. You're going to grow. You're going to stay highly educated. There's so many things that we learn, from building materials to laws, and that you can actually really grow upon. You're never going to really feel stuck. I felt stuck working at Toys R Us. It was a one-way street. at Toys R Us, logistics. But with this business that we're in, I can find an interest in the legal side, and which changes from state to state. I can find a great interest in the management and leadership. I can find great interest in learning construction materials. I can find interest in the policy, insurance. So, and it touches everything, whether you do want to do big houses, if you want to do in the suburbs, if you want to do in the city, you can do this job from anywhere. So it touches so many key points, but ultimately, I know women find great joy in being able to actually manage, being able to have multiple plates spinning at once, making sure things get done. And I think that's what be our biggest asset for women out there. And there's not a lot of us out there. So come fill these positions, grow it, and introduce it to your sons and your daughters, introduce it to your sisters and your brothers, so that this, for me, I feel like this is almost like a sport. Initially, we were in certain areas, but now we're in this sport and we can play a great game and we can have a great advantage. So I would leave your people with that thought of, if you want to have an opportunity to where you don't feel like you're going to get bored and you love to learn, this will be the best opportunity for you.
And as I said earlier, all her information is in this below or in the description below. Now, I want to say this to you. Now, Ebahie, like I told you, she's an exception. She's a superstar. She's been on both sides. She's been a claim writer, and now she's a field adjuster, if I'm not mistaken, okay?
That's right.
Now, for all of you ladies who just want to be like myself and be a claim writer, which is great because you do not have to climb up on roofs. You do not have to go in crawl spaces. All you have to do is know how to type in the information or write it in and find a claim and be a claim writer. If you could do those things, then you could be Ebahie done been on both sides. She can help you be successful in both areas. So don't be afraid to give her a call. You've heard her resume, you heard what she's did. So she knows both sides of the track. She knows what it's like not to go to college, what it's like to go to college. She knows what it's like to build a huge team and what it's like before you get the team. So if you want a great mentor, somebody who can coach you and you are coachable, give her a call. Also, you know, the great thing about it is, we have not really spent a lot of time around each other, but we have a mutual admiration, respect for each other, and we know each other's spirit, which is to help people, which is why God connected us. Again, it's not a preaching program, but I am a preacher, so you have to forgive me when I say those things. Now, what we want you to do is, please subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, help it to grow. I always have great information for people. I love to interview great people who are doing great things, who have seen that they could help somebody else, that they're not in this just for the money. They're in this to help themselves grow and other people grow. Because if I can't take you along with me, then I'm not successful. But if I can help you become successful, that tells me that I'm successful.
Absolutely.
And I just want to thank you once again, Ebahie, for this great informational. I'm going to start putting this together as soon as possible and get it out there. And you will definitely get a copy. God bless you. God keep you. God watch over you.
Thank you, Aki. Have a great day.
You made it a great day.